Ben McKee, Patrick Brown, Go Vols 247 here on campus on Tuesday of South Carolina week. Just spoke to Tennessee running back coach Jerry Mack and Tennessee defensive line coach Rodney Garner. And we will start with Mr. Mack, who spoke to us about his running back rotation and thought it was very interesting that he said going into any given game, doesn't really know who's going to have the big day or receive the bulk of the reps, but did admit that Dylan Sampson, Tennessee fans will be seeing more of him going forward.
Yeah, I hope for Tennessee's sake they don't forget about Dylan Sampson like they did at Florida. I know that was a weird game for the offense with how things went, but certainly with the way that Sampson came back, the maturity he showed the week leading up to UTSA and how he played against UTSA. I mean, that guy's a game changer with the ball in his hands. The vision, the way he's able to see cutback lanes and see lanes that maybe it takes a guy a few years to really see. This guy's still a sophomore, so he's really special with the ball in his hands. I still think he's got to get a little bit better playing without the football in terms of pass protection, but he's certainly a guy that needs to be on the field. But again, you've got three running backs that are all capable of getting the job done, and I think that's what Jerry Mack likes about this group. And it's not it's not 15 years ago where you had a guy that got 25 carries and a guy that got 8. You got guys that can all get maybe between 15 and 10 and around that area. So they've got a good backfield, and they need to continue to lean on it as they get into SEC play.
Absolutely. And with Rodney Garner, asked him about the Florida game because Tennessee's defensive line did not play well in that first half, did play well in the second half, and he said that he did not know why. Well, they didn't have the edge to them that they need to play with. He did not know why they did not have that edge, but they will need to find it this Saturday because if Tennessee is going to beat South Carolina, it's got to start with Tennessee's D-line taking advantage of South Carolina's offensive line.
Yeah, Ben, that was a good question you asked him, and Rodney said that this is the SEC. You've got to bring your A game every single week. Hold on. Don't go fast on where you're going. You've got to bring your A game every single week, and it's tough in the trenches in the SEC. You can't have lapses. You can't have that lack of edge that Tennessee had at Florida, or you're going to get pushed around. The other team's going to have better fundamentals and play more soundly than you are, and they're going to have more success. That's what happened to Tennessee at Florida, and it can't happen this week if Tennessee's going to get back and get their first SEC win.
Absolutely, and we also spoke to Tyler Barron, and Tyler's been a big reason why Tennessee's defensive line has played well for most of the year. He's played as well as anybody this season and is a big piece to the formula.
Yeah, he's got 4 sacks through 4 games. I think he entered the season with 7.5 in his career, and certainly being healthy has helped. But I think Tyler's changed his approach. He talked about doing yoga at the beginning of the week and stretching early on in the week to make sure that his body is ready to play how it needs to play. He said he's been in much more of a routine and sort of realized the stuff that he needs to do to play like he wants to and not doing the stuff that doesn't help him play like he wants to. And that's sort of a thing where you're seeing what a guy does off the field is showing up on the field, and that can be an example. James Pierce Jr. is another example of a guy that's doing things right elsewhere outside of football, and it's showing up on the football field. So Tennessee's got some guys that are game changers up front, and they need those guys to continue to play that way as they get into SEC play.
Yeah, and Tyler also voiced his appreciation for Joe, I guess you could say, backing him up, giving him his vote of confidence. And Squirrel White said that I don't ever look at the quarterback if we don't catch a pass. That's on us as a receiver to be better. Yeah,
that's an interesting outlook. And, the way that he kind of put it is that the receivers and Joe, they all kind of say it's between us. It's not really what anyone else says. It's about what we work, how we work, and what we do, and how we play. And I think the passing game, if you really look at it, some of it's Joe, yes. Some of it's the protection is causing some issues, and some of it's the receivers maybe not being where they need to be or doing what they need to do to complete some of those downfield shots. And Tennessee's going to have to hit some of those. They've hit maybe 2 or 3 here and there in a game, and if they can hit 5 or 6 in one of these SEC games, it's going to make a huge difference and get this offense really going.
And lastly, a lot of people are talking about last year's South Carolina game. You and I are talking about it. Wes is, of course, always talking about it. Fans are talking about it. This is a game that they need to win to get one back for Hendon and so on and so forth. And, I don't blame people outside of the building talking about it, but the folks inside the building are not even paying attention to it.
Yeah, and that's something we've heard again for the second straight day. Whether we believe it, we'll see. But I do think it has merit because this is a team that's talked about not doing a good job of moving past bad plays or bad stretches. That's why they've had a bad half against Florida. That's why they were lackadaisical against Austin Peay and didn't come out in the third quarter against UTSA. So they've got to focus on the here and now because that's what's important. Obviously they love to go out and get some revenge, but That's always a dangerous kind of a motive if that's your only focus.
It's an important week for Tennessee football, and we've got plenty of coverage of it all up at GoVols247.com. He's Patrick Brown. I'm Ben McKee.